What's up, y'all? It's your boy Nick Clark here with another Breaking Bad boxing preview and prediction. This week, we got Osleys Iglesias versus Vladimir Shishkin for the IBO Super Middleweight World Title fight. Vladimir Shishkin, 16-1. He is the contender, 34 years old. 10 of those wins coming by way of knockout versus the champion, 13-0. 12 of those wins coming by way of knockout. The 27-year-old Cuban southpaw. This fight, I think, sets a big domino in the 168-pound division to where the belts are on a stranglehold with Canelo Alvarez. But as we know, Canelo is kind of at the end of his road. And we have a lot of young contenders. We have the Mobili Lester fight coming up. We have Diego Pacheco coming up. And then we also have this fight here, which I think sets a domino for these young contenders to kind of start fighting each other. Even though we already see that with Mobili and Lester, I think this is huge for the 168-pound division. So let's talk about this fight here, y'all. Let's get into the X's and O's of it. We're going to start off with the champion's tape here. Osleys Iglesias here. He has a lot of quick finishes in succession. So let's just jump into the X's and O's, y'all. Versus Marcelo Caceres. It wasn't really much to break down just because this fight went so quickly. He's a long-rangey southpaw, really active lead hand, right hooks to the body, right hooks to the head. Stands upright and retracts in a straight line, but he was very defensively responsible when retracting with a high guard and a high shell, keeping his chin tucked. Fights well at the long range and the mid range. Hooks were super wide, but he seemed to tighten them up even in the few seconds that this fight was going on that it was. Set up the first knockdown with his long right hand. He had a faint right hand jab to the body, came up with a left hook to the temple that finished the fight. Really beautiful setup, and you can tell that he has good fight IQ, fight over fight as you go through his tape too as well. His fight versus Evgeny Shevchenko. Please don't kill me for the name pronunciation, y'all. Y'all know how your boy Breaking Bad Boxing is not great with the name pronunciations. Long right hand, great feet when he jabs. He was almost floating over his front foot. Defensively responsible when he was retracting, even though it wasn't a straight line. He had moments of bringing his feet together, collapsing his feet, which you're going to see a little bit more in the Egbeko fight too as well. But his feet started to sharpen up a little bit more as the fight went on. In the first 25 seconds, he landed a sweeping right hand that got a huge reaction out of Shevchenko. You could tell it definitely paused him in his tracks. At a minute and 5 seconds, he throws a 1-2 to cover ground and throws a shovel uppercut that misses. He resets in this next exchange. He shows a sweeping right to cover the same amount of ground, but resets and throws an uppercut to the body, showing a little bit of semblance of fight IQ and the fact that he's downloading data. That's really all I could take away from this fight since, again, it was an early night for him, and he landed a devastating shot that face planted Shevchenko. Very underassuming power, but that's because I listen to these fights all on mute. And I went back to listen to these shots, and all of his shots, man, just start thudding and sound like shotguns. Iglesias versus Egbeko, which is actually a common opponent against Vladimir Shishkin and Egbeko. His shovel punch variation to the body was absolutely incredible this fight. Go see 2 minutes and 40 seconds of the first round. From the gates, he was on the front foot with a long, snappy jab. Once his jab was going off, man, he was just throwing the jab off, getting in with body feints, giving it with hand feints. Long right hook, stegged Egbeko in the first round, 2 minutes and 30 seconds into it. He throws hooks in succession. He could bring his feet together when he was moving forward, but he was keeping a good base when he was moving backwards. Good at cutting the ring off, but not necessarily great at cutting the ring off because he had moments of overextending and overthrowing. His right hand is so powerful, man. Every single thing that he lands, it just seems to touch you with. First time that he dropped Egbeko, he wasn't even planted on his feet or his base. He caught him on an angle when he was turning. He was turning off his back foot and caught him with a right hand that just smoked Egbeko here. When he had Egbeko hurt coming off of the corner against the uppercut, it was just the uppercut that he was landing when he had on Egbeko, man, was just devastating, snapping his head backs, and he was throwing him in succession. The one thing is he doesn't throw a lot of uppercuts, but the uppercuts that he does throw are super efficient and super powerful. He has his foot on the gas when he has you hurt, man. Once he saw Egbeko was a wounded deer, put his foot on the gas, and his killer instinct is absolutely incredible, man. Early night for him, but Egbeko is a tough customer, and he ran through him like a freight train, man. He ran through him like a freight train. The devastatingness, I don't even know if that's the right word, but how devastating his right hand is just insane for Iglesias. So let's go on to Iggy versus Petro Ivanov here. Petro Ivanov had early success to the body, especially with the straight right hand, especially while utilizing the open stance. Iggy overswung and overcommitted early in this fight in the first round, leaving his base. stepping over his knees, letting his shoulders land over his knees. But Iggy's jab is so punishing. The moment that it started getting off, it was just landing not only damage to Petronov, but his face was busted up. After the first round alone, he started seeing the swelling and the cheeking coming up, landing sweeping left hands that were damaging in this fight. We see him throw the sweeping right hand, which I think is by far his best punch, is a sweeping right hook, his lead sweeping right hook. But his sweeping left hand in this fight was coming on in money. He was using his right hand as a rangefinder, and finding the left hand was just with complete success. His levels feints, knee bending was looking incredible here. He made Ivanov pay for all of his mistakes. Anytime Ivanov would lead too far over his right, he would land the left. Anytime Ivanov would raise his guard a little bit too high, he would punish the body. When he would retract in a straight line, he was landing sweeping shots every single time he was retracting in a straight line. He was forcing Ivanov, pulling him into traps, stop and start, literally pulling him into traps, making sure Ivanov's meeting his face with his right hand. In round 3, Iggy was fighting on the back foot, which I love to see. He was pulling him at 2 minutes and 20 seconds in. He pulled Ivanov into a straight right hand, backed himself into the ropes, feint, retracted, and then followed up and probed him with a long jab and caught him while retracting, just showing good back foot fighting. Sorry, my scribbling on that note was insane. I could barely read the combo that I wrote, so my apologies on that. The point I'm making is that we see in variation that Iggy can actually fight on the back foot. And yes, I'm calling it Iggy instead of Iglesias. Every time he was throwing the uppercut against Ivanov, it was rocking his head back. Iggy does have a tendency to load up with his left hand, and I don't think he shows much with his right hand at all, maybe that being his lead hand and that it's so front forward. But his left hand, he has a slight tendency of loading it up, and he can have some show to it. Round over round, his defensive angles just got insanely better just as it went on. And compared to retracting in a straight line, he started stepping off at angles, turning Ivanov. And as we know, southpaws rely so much on the angles. He was just finding his angles so much better. His feet improved round over round as well. When he knocked down Ivanov in the 5th round, Ivanov was throwing a looping left hand, and he dipped his head to the right. And like I said about him making him pay from earlier, Iggy caught him with a check left hook, followed with a zero fat, and I mean a zero fat straight left hand. It was the same side punching mechanism. It was absolutely beautiful. The ref jumped in. Some people may have called it an early stoppage, but to be honest with you, I thought the ref stop would have been the inevitable. And I thought he saved Ivanov from a lot of damage. And Petro Ivanov is a young, tough cookie, 26 at the time. Tough as nails. You could tell he came to fight too. He definitely came to fight. It was just a systematic breakdown. I definitely want to go on the rant that I don't have any notes about. I think Iglesias has really good systematic fight IQ and downloading of data to where he will put things in the bank. He will feint you and he will throw something that may miss, but he's going to download that data and keep it in the bag for later, that he knows he just has to cut the inch just a little bit closer and he knows it's going to land on the next one. So let's talk about the contender, man. Let's talk about Vladimir Shishkin here. Vladimir Shishkin. I went and saw his Mike Guy fight, and guys, let me just say this. Mike Guy, to me, I went and looked at his weigh-ins. He looked like a 154 pounder in there, 160 pounder at most. And the fact that he's a career long 168 pounder blew me away. He must be thick as hell and dense as hell. Mike Guy. Shishkin fights behind a wide base, likes to control the range, likes to control the ring, and he's pretty effective at controlling the range in the ring. I don't think Mike Guy had any business being in there with him. 40-year-old bodybuilder at the time, bouncer of a club. But not to shit on Mike Guy. Let's talk about Shishkin. Good variation in his punching. Definitely has some pull counter. He fights with that European kind of style probing that's almost a Philly shell modification. I feel like the Philly shell and the European probing style are very similar, just the way that, even though the Philly shell is definitely more slim and less linear, he has a little bit of shoulder roll, a little bit of head movement to his game, but he retracts far too over his base and his hips. Definitely leans slightly over his base and his hips, and he drops his left hand when he retracts over his base and his hips. That's going to be a big issue versus Iglesias, y'all. He has a long jab both to the body and the head. He likes to go first and third. He plays a little bit of catch and shoot, but his catch and shoot isn't great. Not even against Mike Guy, who was clearly outgunned in this fight. But his first and his third, odds and evens, as I call it, his pull counters in this fight, really crisp, really incredible. He was insinuating Mike Guy to throw in this fight, and my guy was almost tentative in moments, way too tentative in moments. And it's funny because Shishkin has negative moments to himself, negative lulls. His right uppercut and his left shovel hook in this fight was money. His head punch variation, or his head body variation, was good too in this fight. He was mixing up just everything. It's just his punch variation was really solid in this fight. It seemed like he had I don't want to say a deep bag, but he was using all the tools that he had in his tool belt. He was great at punching around Mike Guy's elbows and finding the body, finding the kidneys, finding the liver. When he gets up close in these clinch scenarios too as well, he likes to rough you up. He likes to punch you in the ears, punch you in the kidneys, just get a little bit rough when you get into any type of clinch scenarios with him. Guy was able to push Shishkin back at times and force Shishkin to fight on the back foot. And I do not like the way Shishkin fights on the back foot. I think he is someone that needs to fight mid-range and fight on the forward foot at best, fighting on the back foot. And I don't think he has the greatest inside game as well. In round 3, my guy was landing some explosive, solid right hands. And with 20 seconds left, Guy found a punch that kind of stunned Shishkin. Definitely stopped him in his tracks. And if my guy's finding these punches, Iggy can definitely find these punches. But I want to say Shishkin has some class to him. He's crafty, good ring IQ, holds the center. He's really good at holding the ring itself too as well. He can hold the mid-range and he can stare at times. Again, comes down to those negative tendencies of those negative lulls that he has. Offensively, I love when he goes forward, and I love his pressure, and I love his volume. He mentally breaks you when he's going forward with his pressure and his volume. He just mentally broke down Guy in this fight here. Right uppercut. He threw it to the body in the solar plex. I think he has a great shovel hook and a great uppercut to the solar plex in the body. I love when he throws it, and when he throws it, it lands efficiently every time, and it just looks like it throws ripples, not only against Mike Guy, but later on in other fights too as well. His uppercuts to the solar plex is this money. It was the left hand to the liver that actually ended this fight, but Mike Guy was, he was sucking wind. So the William Skull fight, I want to say this. It's a loss on Shishkin's record. I think you could have scored this fight 7-5 either way or a draw. I would have kind of leaned 7-5 Shishkin, especially the way Shishkin had him hurt in the 12th round. So let's talk about it. Early in the fight, Shishkin had trouble corralling Skull. Skull was landing pinging right hands to the head, level punches to the body. Again, Shishkin loves to back up in a straight line and drop his left hand when he does this. It's just a tendency that he has fight over fight, backing up in a straight line, balance over his hips, left hand dropped. Shishkin started to find his range with a straight punch and his jabs at the end of round 2. With 2:24 seconds left in the second round 2, he threw his jab out there a little bit too long, held it over Skull's shoulder essentially, and got cracked with the right hand that stunned him in place. So he has a habit of where he can hold his jabs out there and not retract them in base, and definitely, like I said, dropping his lead hand. In round 3 at 2 minutes and 23 seconds, Skull started to hold his feet, but man, he started to force Skull to hold his feet, started getting off his jabs and his timing. I felt like after round 3, we started seeing a lot of success from Shishkin. Rounds 1 through 3, I had Skull winning pretty clearly, but rounds 4 through 6, I had Shishkin coming up, man. It really was a 3-3 fight, in my opinion, after round 7. Skull was allowing Shishkin to tee off on him. He landed a sick 5-punch combination at the end of round 5. That was a straight left, multiple uppercuts, multiple digs to the body. One of those solar plex uppercuts that I was speaking of, which following up with a hook and a uppercut. And when he started corralling Skull into the corners, he had a lot of success. But the issue was the Skull was having some success with stop and start. He was pulling him into traps and forcing the left hand back on him in neutral corners. So let me finish up the tape here, guys. I'm going off road with this. It is like late as hell my time. Been a long day, so I know this isn't as clean cut of a preview, but whatever. He tries to play a little bit of catch and shoot, but I think he gets more shot than he does when he starts to do the catching. He finds success, like I said, when he's on the front foot. He was frustrating the hell out of Skull in the clinch positions, back of the kidney, liver shots, ear shots, like I said. Fighting so well on the front foot. When he found his range, he was super successful, breaking in with that mental pressure. But we see the same issues with him with having these negative lulls where he'll stop and stare and stand at the mid-range without throwing anything out if you're not throwing anything out who his opponent is. So I just wish I would like to see a little bit more activity, man. And I can understand why the judges may have not have given him this fight, especially when it was such a huge pro Skull crowd. Against Roman Ayala, 2-round destruction against someone that's been knocked out 8 of 10 of his losses here for you. He had a lot of pull counter, was going first and third, damaging the hell out of his body. It was funny because it was a corner ring camera and we couldn't even see the finish because the neutral corner camera that was set up in, that's where the finish happened, was in that neutral corner. So we didn't even get to see the finishing sequence here. He did a great job at punching down on a smaller Raymond Ayala in this fight too, which necessarily won't matter because I don't think he's going to be punching down on Iglesias because Iglesias is going to be towering in this case. In the Jason Minda fight, he had a great stab jab, continuously was getting caught with sweeping lefts by Minda. He got his eye busted open with 9 minutes and 56 seconds into the video. I don't know the actual round timer, but 9 minutes, 56 seconds into the video, his mouse got cut open by a right hand by Mayenda. So he was getting caught with left hands and right hands by Mayenda. It's definitely something to look into because he has been cut before. I remember it was the Jose Uzgatsky fight that was on PBC that he also got cut. I believe it was from a head cut. I don't remember if it was a punch or a head cut. But he was teeing off on Mayenda against the ropes, man. And this ring looked like a lunchbox. So he was doing a great job at tracking him against the corners, teeing off on the body, throwing long stabbing jab. His stabbing jab to the body is really good. So that's the tape breakdown portion. What do I like about both fighters and what would I like to see him improve on? I don't have this written down, so I'm going off the top of my dome. Iglesias, what do I like about him? His lead hand, man. His sweeping right hand is so powerful, so devastating. He's powerful in both hands, but his right hand especially. He floats over his front foot when he jabs. I think he's defensively responsible. He's young. He has great killer instinct, great mentality. He doesn't seem to slow. He's very efficient in his punch selection and his volume. What I'd like to see him improve on is I definitely think he can overcommit to his shots. I think he can sweep his shots a little bit too much, maybe get over his base. And I think he gets wide on a lot of his punches. And with his left hand, specifically his left hand, I think he can load up on his shots with his left hand. Shishkin, what do I like about him? His stab jab to the body is great. He has an amazing shovel hook uppercut variation. His shovel hook uppercut to the solar plex specifically is great. When he's on the front foot, he has good mental pressure and good at breaking people. Good straight shots. Going forward, he has some really good pull and counter to his game too. Odds and evens going first and third. What would I like to see him improve on in his game? I think he is very hittable. I think he retracts in a straight line. He drops his lead guard hand. He has way too many defensive or negative lulls in fights to where he doesn't do enough activity and he just trusts that he's up more than he possibly is. So those are my off the dome, what I like and what I would like to see more of. So how do I see this fight going, guys? Betting lines. Let's talk a little bit about this here for you. So the over under on this fight is listed at 8.5 rounds. And I see in discords that I'm in that a lot of people seem to like the over in the 8.5 rounds, that they think Shishkin is a crafty veteran, which he is. He has good ring IQ, which I agree that he does. These are things that I think, but just, I'm assuming of what people think for the over 8.5. But Iglesias is a sniper, man. And Iglesias punches with authority early and he punches with authority often. And the things, when it comes to styles makes fights, I think a fight within a fight is huge. Shishkin retracting in a straight line, dropping his lead left hand, while you have someone like Iglesias that not only covers ground, but throws a devastating sweeping right hand that we've seen Shishkin caught with lesser competition time and time again. The difference is unlike Mike Guy and unlike Jason Mienda, Iglesias will put your lights out with those sweeping right hands. And Shishkin is 34 years old. He put Petro Ivanov out in the 5th round. Yes, slightly an early stoppage, but I think the ref was just stopping the inevitable anyways in the 5th round. You're giving me an extra 3.5 rounds for a guy that is definitely a better boxer, more crafty of a boxer, but is no doubt older and slower in age and definitely is going to hold his feet more. Guys, I like the under 8.5 in this fight. I like Vladimir Shishkin to get it done at under 8.5. Or Vladimir Shishkin, I'm sorry. I like Osleys Iglesias. Don't cut that portion of my video, y'all. It is Osleys Iglesias to get it done at under 8.5 rounds. I'm also going to sprinkle rounds 1 through 6 on it too as well. I can see Iglesias going out there, sparking him, making a huge statement, setting up a huge fight, hopefully against a guy like Diego Pacheco. I understand why I had Tiger never made the Christian Mabili versus Iglesias fight, even though that would have been a cracker of a fight itself. 168 is looking absolutely incredible, y'all. We have Christian Mabili versus Lester Martinez. We have Diego Pacheco waiting in the wings. We now have Iglesias, clearly with Shishkin. Maybe Shishkin pulls an upset, but I don't see it happening. I see a Osleys Iglesias under 8.5 rounds knockouts. Lock it in. I will be posting my slip and my ticket on Twitter. With that being said, y'all, it's been another Breaking Bad Boxing preview and prediction. Love, peace, chicken, grease. See y'all next time.